In my last video, I talked about why the United States is cracking down on the specific cities that they're cracking down on and which ones are to come. Now let's talk about why this is happening at all. And to understand this, you need to change the way that you look at the map. This is not a flat Earth map. This is the Arctic. So this is if you were looking at the globe from the top, looking down, this is that. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, you want to see past identity politics and into seeing the structures that the government see when they design the world for us, comment, follow, and especially share. I get no views unless you guys share, and I appreciate it. And what you see when you look from the top is undeniably the most profitable trade route that humanity has ever seen. The shortest trade route that humanity has ever seen. Something that all of the governments have been wedging their foot in the door for, something that all governments have been starting to militarize and starting to ramp up their Arctic fleet for. Currently, this is ice, this middle part, contested ice specifically. So as long as there's ice for the majority of the year, Russia is able to assert a certain level of dominance through what they basically phrase as environmental protections. So this is like you have to plan your trips X amount of time in advance, and you have to have an escort through our icebreakers to make sure that you're going through the non-damaging area and reducing emissions and things like that. But if there is no ice, then Russia can no longer claim that dominance unless it's part of their coastline. So in 2007, Russia said it's part of our coastline. And then they sent a submarine down and they proved that it's part of their coastline. And I'm not supporting Russia, but I am in support of science, and science literally does support the fact that this is part of their coastline. It's not seabed. It's the same it's the same sediment makeup as the land that is Russia. Now, Greenland also claims that it is the same scientific makeup as the land that is Greenland, but they have not submitted scientific evidence. And the reason this matters is because as this ice melts, another trade route opens. So there's already trade routes happening here. There's one on the the Russian side. There's one on the Canadian side, and those are open like seasonally right now, depending on the severity of the weather. And again, it shortens the route, so it is very profitable. The third one is going to go straight through the North Pole, which will at that point be water. And if you think that I'm talking out of my ass here, you can look at the Department of Defense website. You can look at our Arctic strategy plans. You can look at our Arctic implementation plans. You can look at Russia's plans. You can look at who's militarizing and where. You can look at China's plan. Everyone is planning for the Arctic. Everyone. And it's not like a long way from now. It's like now and 2030 and especially by 2050 because it's going to be full melt by 2050. And this isn't a hoax. This is science and government planning and military strategy. You can deny it if you want, but you're denying the military strategy that shapes the world that you live in. And as this opens, not only is it very profitable, it also shifts power. Because Russia, as I said, scientifically gets all of that land, claim to all of that land up to the North Pole, which means they get the coastline, they get the resources, they get the choke point. In fact, the only choke point that America itself has any sort of leverage over really is the Bering Strait, which we share with Russia. So things are looking very good. Additionally, through our capitalism, sanctioned currencies, including Russia's currency, including the potential for a new BRICS unit to emerge, these things are rising and our dollar is shrinking. Not because of communism, because of capitalism, because of free markets, because of governments deciding that they don't want to play our sanction games anymore. And it's not just from one presidency. This is a long-standing issue of geopolitical dominance using the United States dollar and the petrodollar. So this is an issue that has arisen from capitalism. However, because Russia is now gaining all of this land, all of these choke points, all of this coastline, because their Arctic fleet is so much stronger than anybody else's, they are undeniably going to be the world leader. And now, unlike any other time in history, now they're in a position to de-dollarize. Now they're in a position to shrink the United States currency. And if you're thinking, oh, they can't do that, we did that first. We did that to them first. So yes, they can do that. And America, instead of saying they can do that and getting us sustainable, instead of doing what we should realistically do, which is accept that we're not going to be able to be a geopolitical strong arm, Except that we're not going to be able to import things as quickly and as cheaply as we've always been able to do. Except that we're going to have to fall into a multipolar world. Instead of doing that, we're splitting by hemisphere. We're splitting by Eastern Hemisphere or anything but capitalism and Western Hemisphere. And when you understand that, that is the key that you need to be able to understand everything that is happening this year and for the remainder of this administration and for the remainder of your lifetime. This shapes everything about your life and your kids' life. So I'm going to stop here. Next time, we're going to talk about what this has to do with immigration and why it proves that it is absolutely eugenics. Follow me for more. It's always terrible.